Alright, 7th grade. So we're going to go ahead and do test 13.5 study guide. Let me put this down here a little bit. Alright. Problem number 1 says, which of the following ratios are proportional with 3/4? So, if our original fraction is 3/4, and they give us 4 other fractions, to check to see if it's proportional with those, the first one is 21 over 28, second one is 15 over 24, third one is 12 over 20, and the last one is 15 over 16. Well, if it's proportional to these, it's going to have the same factor multiplied to it. So, for example, if this is proportional with this, then whatever you multiply this by to get here, you're going to multiply the same thing to get here. Another way to think about it is cross products should be congruent as well. So if you don't see, a factor that, like, for example, 7 times 3 is 21. If you don't see a factor, if you can't multiply this by something to get this, or multiply this by something to get this, then just cross multiply and see if you get the same thing. Either way is going to work. But if I see that 3 times 7 is 21, and 4 times 7 is also 21, then my answer for this one has to be A. So the other ones won't work. The other ones, for example, let's test this one down here. Is 3/4 proportional to 12/20? Well, 3 times 4 is 12. And if I were to multiply 4 times 4 also, I don't get 20, I get 16. So none of these other ones will work. Next one, number 2. A car travels 72 miles on 6 gallons of gas. 72 miles on 6 gallons of gas means over 6 gallons of gas. At that rate, how much gas will it need to travel 204 miles? 204 miles. So at that rate means they're proportional. And how much gas means we put an X down there. Okay? So I'm going to solve this equation. I can take out the miles and the gallons. Oh, that's supposed to be 72. Sorry about that. Okay, so I got 72 over 6, I got miles on top. 204 over what? Or over X, I got miles on top. So keep your miles with miles and your gallons with gallons. We're going to cross multiply. I got 204 times 6, which is 12/24, equals 72x. Divide by the coefficient. Cross out my 1's. And I got x equals, now I'm going to divide these two. Remember, it goes in and out. Top goes in, bottom goes out. Okay, how many times is 72? Going to 12/24. Well, 70 goes into 122 one time, because 2 times 70 is 140. It's already too big, right? So I subtract these two. And I got to borrow here. And 12 take away 7 is 5. Drop down my 4. And 7 goes into 504. I don't know how many times, but if I take off the 2 and the 4, I can kind of get in the ballpark, right? 7 goes into 50 like 7 times, so I'll try 7. I'll go 72 times 7. Multiply those two and see what I get. I got 14. Oh, hit the nail on the head. Right on the money. Hit the money on the head. Alright, so I got 17. Alright, 17 what? 17 gallons is my answer for that. Number 3. The ratio of cars to trucks in a parking lot is 2:3. 2 cars to 3 trucks. That's the ratio that they give us. The question asks us for how many cars are there if there are 90 trucks. So they ask us about cars and trucks also. So sometimes they switch it, but this time they ask us about cars. They say how many cars, X cars, if there are 90 trucks. So we don't have to switch anything around or add anything this time, because they gave us cars to trucks and they asked us for cars to trucks. So again, all proportions are solved the same way. Cross multiply. 2 times 90 is 180. 3 times x is 3x. And divide by the number in front of x. Okay? 180 divided by 3, go out to the side, do that's going to be 60. Let me check my answer here. 60 cars is your answer. Number 4. Juan earns $8 per hour at his job. Which ordered pair would not appear on a graph showing how much Juan earns in X hours? So if he's $8 per hour, then the ratio is $8 per 1 hour. Okay, so these coordinates over here, when you put y over x, because remember, money's always y, money on top, right? When you put y over x, if it's proportional, it'll equal 8. Okay, so 16 over 4 doesn't equal 8. 8 over 1 equals 8. 24 over 3 equals 8. And 40 over 5 equals 8, because it's 40 divided by 5, right? So the answer for that one, which one does not work? A does not work. Number 5 says, which value would complete the table to make the relationship proportional? So if these are proportional, y over x is going to be the same for all of them. So if one of them is missing, we just write a proportion when it's proportional, right? So I'll just take any of these points. I'll take the first one, 23.4 over 1, 23.4 over 1. I'm putting y over x, and I'll put y over x for the one that's missing. The y is missing, not the x. So I'll put in the letter where for the y, since the y is missing. And the x they gave me is 3. Again, cross, multiply, and divide. So I got 23.4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12, carry my 1. I got 9, 10, carry my 1, 6, 7 with 1 decimal point. And 1 times y is just y, so my answer is 70.2 for this problem. Number 5 is done. 70.2 is going to be the value for y. Number 6. It says, a line goes to the origin. This means it's proportional. Another name for that is direct variation. 1 point is 4, 4. And they say, which of the equations below could be the equation for the line? Well, all proportional lines have the same equation. It's y equals the rate of change, or some number, right? The rate of change times x. It has to be that. So right away, I already know the answer cannot be A, because there's an m squared. We don't see an x squared, right? It could be B, because that is a proportional relationship. So is C. D is not. D looks like it is, but it's not. Okay, so the only ones that look like the form that we memorized for all proportional relationships is B and C. So what I have to do is take the point that they give me, put y over x, see what I get. I get 1x. 1x is x. Now, it doesn't have to be y or x. It can be other numbers like m and k. The answer has to be C, because I don't have a negative coefficient for this one. Number 7. If each person in your family uses 80 to 110 gallons of water on these various activities, and 10% of the water is used for those various activities, 810 gallons total, 80 need to drink coffee. 80 to 110 gallons total, 10% on these activities like brushing your teeth and whatnot. And how much is that if there's 4 people? Okay, so that's the question. What's the range of water used for those activities for 4 people? Well, we got to find 10% of 80, and you can write your percent proportion percent over 100. If I'm finding 10% of 80, 80 goes on bottom because it goes is over of, right? But we also learn a shortcut. When it's 10%, just move the decimal one time. So 10% of 80 is 8 gallons. 8 gallons is used on those activities. For 4 people, that means times 4, 32 gallons. Now, the high end, again, you can set up your percent proportion, do all that work, but if they ask you 10%, you say, thank you, 10% means move the decimal one time. 10% of 110 is just 11 gallons. But 11 times 4 for 4 people is 44, so 32 to 44 gallons is the answer for that problem. Number 8 says, a company raised the price of an item from $50 to $67.50. What's the percent of increase? Well, we have to find the amount of increase first. That means I have to subtract these two. So it increased by $17.50. So the question's really asking us, $17.50 is what percent of the original, which is 50. Percent always goes over 100. All right, we use this percent proportion for half of our test. Now, cross multiply. Multiplying by 100 means move the decimal 2 times, right? You can go off to the side and do all that work if you like, or you can do the shortcut I taught you. Divide by the coefficient, divide by 50. If you guys are dividing, you have zeros, you can hit those, but not other numbers, right? If those are 2s or 5s, you wouldn't hit them, just the zeros, because I'm dividing out of 10 from numerator and denominator is what I'm doing to make my division easier. I divide in and out. I put the top in, bottom out. 5 wasn't that 3 times 15, subtract, drop my next digit down, and my answer is 35. So for number 8, it's a 35% increase because this was a percent proportion and we were missing percent. Percent goes over 100. That's why it's 35%, not 35 something else. Number 9 says you bought an item and paid 7% sales tax. The item originally cost $20. How much did you pay for the item with tax included? So what's the new price, in other words, right? Because there's two types of questions you can do there. You can find just the tax, how much did it increase by, or the new price, which means you have to add the tax on. So either way, we got to find 7% of 20, and you could put percent. Oops, I'm sorry. This should be 100, right? 7%. Percent always goes over 100. Of 20 means the 20 goes on the bottom. There, I got mixed up there. Okay, so I'm finding 7% of 20, so 20 goes down because it is over of. Now, if $20 was 7% of some number, $20 is, then it would go on top. But since I'm finding 7% of 20, it goes on the bottom. Is over of. Cross multiply. 100 times x is that, and 20 times 7 is 140. Dividing by 100 again, move the decimal 2 times, we got $1.40 taxes. So if it's $20 plus $1.40 taxes, then you're going to be between $21.40 for the whole enchilada. Number 10, the price of a train ticket is $182, and they say that there's a sale. It's 35% discount. So they're asking us, what's the sale price? What's the sale price means, what are you paying? Well, if you're 35% off, and 100% is that, we're actually only going to pay 65%, aren't we? 35% off, you're going to pay 65%. So let's just find 65% of 182. This is not the only way to do it. I just think it's the quickest way to do it. Cross multiply. 100 times x is 100x. 182 times 65. Let's work this out. 10, carry my 1. 40 plus 1 is 41. Carry my 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. When you go to the next one, you add your 0. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry my 1. 48 plus 1 is 49. Carry my 4. And 6 plus 4 is 10. Add these bad boys up. Carried my 1 there, didn't I? And I get 11,830. 11,830. Oh, but I still have to divide by 100, don't I? I thought that number seemed big. Divided by 100, move my decimal 2 times. That's $118.30. Ask yourself if that makes sense. If it's $182 normally, it's 35% off. It's not quite half off, so sort of about half of it taken off. Just if it makes sense, you're probably good. Okay. If it doesn't make sense, we messed up with our decimals somewhere. Problem number 11 says during a football game, the Rams lost 2 yards. Oh, that's sad. And then they gained 14. Hallelujah. And then they gained 1 more. Okay, so. Then they lost 12. Oh, bummer. Okay, so if we add up all of our gains and losses, there's a net of positive 1. Now, there's never a negative distance, but you could have an integer represent their net gain as a negative number. But this one's positive this time, so the answer should have been 1. Number 12 says, one day in Montana, temperature was -1. Another day it was 2. What's the difference? Well, difference is distance, so we subtract those 2, add the opposite, use teams. I get a -3 number, but the distance between always has to be positive, so it's absolute value, so it would be 3. Now, if I did 2 minus -1, I get 3 that way. So whether it's 3 or -3, I just say, well, the difference between those is 3 degrees, period. I wouldn't say -3 degrees, right? Unless they're saying what integer represents, then my answer will always be positive for something like that. So number 13, we have write the fraction 4/6 as a decimal, 4/6. Well, you can reduce it first if you want, but you don't have to. Just go in and out. 4 goes in, 6 goes out. And 6 goes into 46 times, 36. And I get a 4. Oh, I just did that. It's going to keep going 6 repeating. So 0.6 repeating is the answer for that one. Alright, now, if they want us to round it, though, let's see, did they say we needed to round it? It says, if necessary, round your answer to the nearest hundredths. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Nearest hundredths is right here, so I look to the right, it's going to round to about 67 hundredths, about that. Alright, so we are on number 14, I believe. That was number 13, right? Number 14. So number 14 says, write 8/10 as a fraction. When we read it the right way, it says 8/10, so we just write 8 over 10. That's the same as 8/10. Do my factor trees. 8 is 222, and 10 is 2 times 5. Cross out my 1s. 4/5 is the same as 8/10. For number 5, it says which number is equivalent to -4 over -4. Well, Mr. Do tells us that's going to be a positive number, and 4 over 4 is obviously 1. So the only one that works is A, 1. Number 16 says which fraction below is in between these two. So for 16 we have the fraction 3/5 and the fraction 5/4. So if I just use this denominator over here, I see that 3/5 is the same as 15/25. And I use this denominator over here, I see that 4/5 is the same as 20/25. So a number in between these two would be, the only one that would work would be A, 17/25. The other numbers are not in between those two. Number 17, we have 4/5 divided by 5. Well, 5 is 5 over 1. First make it a fraction, right? Now we make it into multiplication by keep, change, flip, multiply by reciprocal. Cross out your 1s. There are no 1s because these are 5s and those are just 2 times 2. So I got 4/25 is my answer. And for 18, we have 5 times 3x plus 5. Distribute, I get 15x plus 25. And that's the answer for that one. 19 similar to that. 19 they say, what is C got to be? So we have 10x plus C, right? So they say, what's this? Okay, and then they give us another expression for 19. They tell us that if you simplify 5 times 2x plus 8, and we distribute here, I get 10x plus 8. So that first expression they gave us up here was 10x plus C, so I can see that C has to be 8. And last one, number 20. We're going to simplify -2 times 3.5 minus 1.5. Yes, you can distribute, but when they give me numbers, I think it's easier just to use order of operations. 3.5 take away 1.5 is just 2, right? $3.50 take away $1.50, you have $2 left. So 2.0 is just the same as 2. And 2 times -2 is -4. That's the answer for number 20. Alright, hope that helps you guys out.